Welcome to another episode of Pulling Focus with Shveitta Sharma and myself, Raymond Lam. How often do we really focus on the present moment? Are we always dwelling on the past, thinking about regrets? Or are we often making plans for the future, anxious or in anticipation of what's coming next? Today we're going to discuss how we should treasure and value the very breath that we have right now and the very moment that we are living in, because that is the richest way to live life and to relate to other people. So, Shveitta, recently you had this experience where you were reminded, so to speak, of the importance of breathing in the present moment. Can you share with us?
Yes, so I made an appointment with the dentist and just to get a regular cleaning. And while I was there, vanity took over, and I told the dentist, I said, can you just see if my teeth are aligned and if there's anything else we can do about them? And of course, I'm too old for braces, so he says, let's think of doing some veneers or, crowns. So he asked me to give him a mold. So basically what a mold is, like they put a plate with a lot of putty on the plate, and they put it inside your mouth to take an impression of your current teeth. So he puts this mold with the yellow putty in my mouth, and as soon as he puts it in, I start gagging. It's like, because the plate's touching the upper palate, and I couldn't breathe, and I was like, oh my God, I can't breathe. And then the lady who was holding on to the plate, she says, focus on the breathing through your nose. Don't breathe through your mouth. And in those few seconds that I couldn't breathe, I actually panicked. And then I started calming down, and I started breathing through my nose. And I took my focus only on breathing through my nose. And as soon as I did that, I started calming down. But of course, I was still feeling the fact that I couldn't breathe, and a part of me was going back to that moment of not breathing, and then the other part was immediately taking me back to breathing through the nose. And I think the putty took about a couple of minutes to become hard. And in those few minutes, I really realized the importance of staying present and really being aware of what's going on. And then as soon as he took out the plate, I was like, oh, I can breathe finally. But then when I came back, I got out of the dentist's chair, there were so many lessons that came out of that few seconds of not being able to breathe. First of all was how much for granted we take our breath. And the second one was, of course, being present, being aware, being very much in the moment, and not really taking anything so much for granted that, because your mind always runs around. And the fact that I couldn't breathe, my mind was already running around thinking like, oh my God, what if I die? What if I die? And these are stupid or, I wouldn't say stupid, but interesting observations. So the moment I came back to breathing through my nose, becoming aware, I came back to the present moment awareness. So yes, it was
very interesting how you say that it was those few minutes or moments that sort of forced you to be mindful.
Right.
And it was only when you managed to focus did you realize there were all these interesting observations that you could try to let go of and sort of calm down. Is that fair to say?
Right. And like I said, it brings me to the point of how much for granted we take everything that functions in our body. We take it for granted that we will have another breath. We take it for granted that I will get up the next morning. But what if you were not to have that second breath?
You said that it was only when you felt that you couldn't breathe, you realized how precious it was. And I just wonder, I think one of the biggest questions of our daily lives is how we can live with an ever-present gratitude, to always have that fresh gratitude instead of slipping into the bad habit of, it's just every day taking things for granted.
If we actually could do that, like be aware of every minute and be in a state of gratitude, I think life would become very easy and very beautiful. But the normal tendency of the human brain is to focus on the negative. And it's not uncommon, because that's how the human evolution has happened. Because if we were always free and happy and contented, we would not have survived for this long.
Yeah.
The human brain has a negativity bias.
Right.
So we do focus on the negative because it helps us with survival.
Yeah, it's a reflex.
Yes, but survival does not necessarily mean happiness. You know, if you're just meant to survive, let's say if the tiger is about to eat you, you're not concerned about being happy. You're more concerned about survival. So evolutionary, we are meant to be survivors.
Yeah.
So the brain does have a negativity bias, but now we know that the brain has a negativity bias. So now with the knowing, can we do something about it?
Right.
So that's where the wisdom comes in.
Yeah.
You know, like the brain has a negativity bias, but we are wise enough to know about this. So let's focus on what's going well in the life, what's right with ourselves, what's right in our own body. And that's what I keep focusing on, is how much for granted we take our own physical body.
Yep.
You know, I pick up, I use my hand, it's there. My breath is going to come, my eyes are going to see.
Yeah.
These are things that we really take for granted. And it's such a beautiful mechanism that we have. Why don't we start appreciating our own body? You know, every morning, I think what I've started doing is, the moment I put my first foot down on the ground, I'm like, oh God, thank you for waking me up, keeping me alive, and allowing me to be healthy.
Yes.
So if we all did that, that's already a fantastic start to the day.
Yeah.
Then you go around, you have your cup of coffee, immediately say, oh my God, I'm so fortunate that I can actually enjoy this cup of coffee.
My taste buds are functioning.
Yes, my taste buds are functioning. Then, either you have a bath before or after. These small things, if you start paying attention to and becoming aware of all the goodness that's around us, we will actually realize that we have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for the big things to come into your life.
Yes.
You start with the smallest of things. And then what happens is the brain, instead of having a negativity bias, gets a positivity bias.
Yes.
And then something wrong happens, you immediately see the good in that.
Yes.
So I'll narrate an incident. A few years ago, my husband and I were driving, and then the stone comes from a truck that was driving ahead of us and hits our car. And the front glass. And then there's this huge crack in the glass. And my husband, of course, starts shouting. He's like, oh my God, what the hell, And I'm saying, oh my God, how fortunate. We got away with just a broken glass.
Yes.
Can you imagine if it was a bigger stone? You never know what can happen. What if the glass shattered and it hit us? It just was a scratch. I mean, not a scratch, but like a big line. So what happens is your brain actually gets a positivity bias. And instead of seeing things going bad, you see how mildly you got away.
Exactly.
Instead of, like, if you're walking on the road and you fall, instead of breaking a leg, you just hurt yourself a little bit. But the thing is, you could focus on the hurt and say, oh my God, what a stupid thing I did. Why did I not see that stone? I hurt myself so badly. You should actually say, oh my God, I got away with just a little bruise. So the idea behind all these exercises and looking at being positive and being in the state of gratitude is for you to change your life and see it in a positive light. Once you start seeing it in a positive light, you will actually see and experience more positivity. They say what you appreciate appreciates. Right? So if you appreciate the positives in your life will actually appreciate.
Right.
So for me, it was just a reminder. I've been on this journey for a while, as you're aware, but as soon as that plate went into my mouth and I couldn't breathe, the awareness of all these things that I've been practicing and preaching hit me right away. And it came back like, ooh. Because the human brain, again, has that negativity bias and will take you down the slippery slope of negativity.
Yeah.
So it's just this awareness, constant awareness of coming back into the present moment and appreciating the here and now.
I'm sure from time to time, we all have some reminders of that, to come back into the present moment.
Right.
Do you have any advice for people who say, okay, I get what you're saying and I really want to, start cultivating some of that mindfulness and gratitude for the everyday? Short of going to the dentist, what could we do to, just give some cues in our
like I
everyday
said
life?
earlier, like first thing in the morning, when you wake up, just become aware of waking up.
Yeah.
Like, you wake up and everything what we do is on automatic mode.
Yeah,
Tell me the first thing you did this morning.
I can't remember.
Think about it. No, don't say no right away. Think about it.
Got out of bed. I didn't even stretch. Put my feet down on the floor.
Right. But see, you're saying this from past experience.
Yes.
So the one thing that you asked me, I would say from today onwards, first thing, the moment you open your eyes, wake up your eyes, think about what's your next step going to be. Right? Think about it. Okay, I'm going to put my feet down. Which foot down will go down first? So you're already becoming aware.
Yeah.
Once you become aware and then you put your foot down,
yeah.
The second thing, the third thing. And then the best thing to do is when you go to bed at night, try to remember what you did the entire day. So, and then you have to write it all down, right?
Brilliant. Yeah.
So, if you know that at night you have to try and remember what you did the entire day, you will go through the whole day in a lot of awareness.
That's fantastic.
Right?
So it's setting yourself a goal of
mindfulness. It's so simple.
Yeah.
It is so simple, so doable, and you will see there'll be many more benefits accrued because of this. Because not just being aware, you'll actually enhance your memory.
Yeah.
Because you are constantly thinking, okay, so for me, what I did this morning, I got up, I put my this foot, what is this one? Right foot. Right foot down. Then I went up to the floor above. Yeah. I do a little bit of sun worship. I couldn't see the sun, so I went up and prayed to the sun. Then came down back again, brushed my teeth, then came down, had a cup of coffee. So I was actually very aware of what I was doing.
Actively remembering.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now this conversation, all this I need to remember because tonight I need to make a recap of my day. And the other thing that happens when you do a recap is it's called a reflection.
Right.
And then you realize how good or how bad you've been the entire day. So it just makes you so aware and so present. And then if you're about to do something, hurtful or bad, you'll say, I'm
going to
aware.
have to write this down later.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's so much goodness that comes out of such a simple exercise of being aware in the morning and then recapping your entire day. Such a simple exercise.
Imagine if we had this mindset when we were interacting with other people.
Yes.
I think it would really give us time to pause and think about, do we really want to react or behave in a certain way?
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yes. You see, what happens is you cannot think yourself to changing. There is no way you can think your way to change. You have to actually start changing the way your brain functions. So these kind of exercises actually change your brain patterns. You're functioning the way the brain is functioning. And eventually, you don't have to think about doing these things. It becomes automatic.
Yeah.
But again, it takes years and years of practice. So the idea is you start practicing today instead of waiting for it to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, we know all these terms that instead of reacting, you should respond.
Right.
But how do you do that if your brain does not have the tools to understand how to respond? It knows how to react because that's again a survival mode.
Yeah.
Somebody does this to you, somebody gets angry, you get angry back.
Yeah.
So because this is survival mode, our brain is in survival mode all the time. So now we are changing the brain patterns from survival mode into into a living mode, into a positive living mode. So for all these things, you start with very small efforts. And yes, it's very possible. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes patience.
Yeah.
But it is totally possible.
All it takes is a little bit of commitment and a desire to be jolted back into the present moment.
Yes, you know, just like it's simple, but it involves a little bit of effort. So it's not easy, but it's simple. It does need effort, and this, like what we mentioned earlier, the present moment awareness.
Yeah.
Everything gets solved if you are present.
Right.
You know, your mind, body, spirit, emotion, everything is present. Like if I'm talking to you, I'm really present.
Yeah.
But you know, like earlier my dog walked in and I got distracted.
Yep.
So it's a fact that your mind gets distracted very quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly. You know, so the idea is let the distraction come, but then come back to the present moment.
Yes.
Come back to the present moment. And that's what meditation is all about, right?
Yeah.
Let the mind wander. It will wander. That's
Yeah.
the nature of the mind. Bring it
Just
back.
bring it back.
Bring it back. Bring it back. And you keep doing that till you get bored. And actually, boredom is a fantastic thing, which unfortunately, in the day of the social media, we don't allow ourselves to get bored.
Yeah. Just a side point, you just mentioned social media is part of the reason why we're so distracted. Partly because we are so easily stimulated
Yes.
with all these different loop feedback of information, you know, it's just...
Of course, you know, like I said, our brain is very adaptable,
Yeah.
right? It adapts to the current situation.
Yeah.
We've always been distracted, you know, that's why meditation has always been difficult.
Yeah.
But in the past, the distractions were fewer.
Yeah.
So we were not so anxious all the time.
Yeah.
The youth today is way more anxious than the youth of a few years ago or yesterday. Let's put it that way. But we've always been anxious. It's not something new.
Right.
But what happens now is we are so distracted that now we do not have the downtime at all.
Yeah.
Because at least in the past, you should go to the toilet and sit on the pot for a few minutes without a distraction, with your thoughts, right? Yes, you know, we used to take the newspaper or the book into the toilet, but not often, right?
And there were times when
you were just stuck there
alone and nothing to do
with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Now, tell me one person who goes to the toilet without their phones. No one.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, why do I waste my time in the toilet while I could be doing something?
Yeah.
The idea behind growing your brain is the brain grows when you're doing nothing.
Right.
When you give it the downtime is the time when you actually allow your brain to expand. And then single-minded focus, which is very, very, very rare these days.
Yeah.
Everyone is multitasking.
Yes.
And every research has shown that multitasking actually is detrimental for you.
Yeah.
You know, so if you are constantly engaged with the TV or with the phone or with the iPad or with, you know, on the phone, your mind is distracted.
Yeah.
And if your mind is distracted, you lack focus. When you lack focus, you're not present.
Yeah.
So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a loop.
Yeah.
You know. So if you really want to come back to the present moment, you have to learn to, you know, disengage from everything around you for a few minutes a day, just for a few minutes a day, and then it becomes a habit. You know, let's start with 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and
then go to 7,
Yeah.
go to 8, go to 10. You know, I'm not saying start with 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
It's not going to be possible. Start with 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Put your timer on for 3 minutes. And, you know, just 3 minutes, just sit there. Even if you're sitting there waiting for the timer to ring.
Yeah.
But those 3 minutes, your brain has had the time to have a downtime.
Yeah. We've talked about gratitude, distractions, and living and breathing in the present moment with as much mindfulness as possible. This is relevant to our next topic of conversation, because we would like to explore what it means to seriously consider the reality that our breath, this moment, could be our very last, and that death is not just a certainty, but it can happen at any time. So, with that in mind, what's the relationship between present breath and last breath?
Oh, that takes a lifetime. The present breath and the last breath.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in between.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, if you knew that you had 1 hour to live, you knew that, right? What would you do in that last 1 hour?
I talk to my family, talk to my wife, and I think I'd like to make sure that we all had a loving closure. I think that would be that's my first response.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But then, why do you want to wait for that last 1 hour for these things to happen?
Yeah.
Right? Do you know that this is your last 1 hour? No. Do I know that this is my last 1 hour? Does anyone know that this is their last 1 hour? No. But we all live as if we're going to live forever.
Yeah.
Or we all live as if we're never going to, that we have enough time to make amends. But imagine if this was the last hour I had, do I want to die with resentment, with anger, with unforgiveness, with frustrations, with bad, with bad energy between other people,
exactly.
and dreams unfulfilled? Do you want to die like that? No.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now I've got an hour. Okay, in this hour, maybe I will make that phone call that I wanted to make for the last 20 years. In this 1 hour, maybe I will put all my, put my resentment aside and try and focus on what I did wrong, what I did right, and try and make amends.
Yeah.
But what if I don't have that 1 hour? So the idea behind being aware of the last breath is you live every moment as if this is going to be your last moment. Again, these are all things that we hear of.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. Oh, live every minute as if it's your last.
Yeah,
because one day it will be.
Yeah.
But if we actually start living like that, again, it all ties up, becoming present. Because when you're present, you're not holding on to grudges. You're not holding on to anger. You're not holding on to any frustration.
You're not thinking about the past anymore.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about the past. You're not thinking about the future. So if this breath was going to be your last breath, let's work backwards and say, what all do I need to do now to make sure that when I'm on my deathbed, I have no regrets?
Yeah.
And what do you think is the people's biggest regret?
Was that they didn't spend enough time with their family, or
Yes, that's what the nurses in the hospitals where they are looking after people who are dying. That's what the nurses said. The biggest regret people have is not that they didn't spend enough time making money, going to the office. The biggest regret was not having had loving relationships with people that mattered most.
I actually remember that this was an article that you shared with me a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And that there were sort of top 5 regrets or
Yes,
something
the
like
top
that.
5 regrets.
And none of them had anything to do with work or status or building up oneself.
Nothing.
Which is really worrying, because our society is all about sort of the individualism, trying building up oneself, bigging up oneself. But as you said, with the deathbed regrets, it's completely people focused.
Yeah. In fact, even Steve Jobs, right? The guy who changed the world.
Apple.
His biggest regret was not having had spent enough time with his family. So all of us, we know these things.
Yeah.
The sad part is, despite the knowing, we don't act on it.
Yeah.
And this is where the dichotomy lies.
Yeah.
99% of the people know what is right, what is wrong.
Right.
We know it. But the fact is, we are incapable of following that. Why? Because our brain has not been trained.
Right.
So the idea is to train your brain to start focusing on what you value,
Yeah.
looking at the bright side, looking at the positives, and again, like it's just a matter of training and becoming aware.
Yes.
And the brain training is, meditation is nothing but brain training.
Yeah.
But then nowadays there are many other ways of training your brain.
Yeah.
So there are quite a few institutes that help you, with there's an institute called the Biocybernaut Institute, which
Cybernaut, that sounds fancy.
they call it like it's like the astronaut for the mind.
That sounds really cool.
It's interesting,
Yeah.
right? So it's Biocybernaut Institute, which again, it's like so you basically, instead of going into space, they do some, I haven't read up on them too much, so once I do their training, I'll be able to tell you more about it. Right now, I'm not completely aware. I just got introduced to this kind of study. But again, there are, what is that, HoloSync. There are a lot of these companies that are providing means of how to change your brain patterns, because our brains are in alpha, beta, theta. Our brain waves are going into alpha, beta, theta wave patterns. So the idea is in meditation you go into the theta brain pattern, and very often right now when I'm talking to you, we are in beta.
Beta, okay.
So, in meditation, the idea is to go into alpha first and then into theta.
Right.
But there are other ways of going into that, into those
specific brain states.
Yes.
But even, without the companies, I mean, you're talking about habit building. What you just shared earlier about just trying to build some daily habits that can, day by day, very gradually sculpt your brain in a different way.
Yeah. We have those gongs, right? So very simply, just ring the bell, ring the gong, and just wait till this sound ends.
Yeah.
And already in that moment, when you rung the bell and it's going down, your brain pattern is going from beta to alpha. So it's very simple. You can do it on your own. And now, of course, we all have iPhones. They all have a lot of programs.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people believe that they find it hard to meditate.
Yes.
It is not hard. It is not easy. Okay, I'm not going to say it's easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. But you start, with a simple step. Like I said, find something if you cannot focus internally. Find a flame. Just look at the flame for 5 minutes. Find something to focus on.
Like an object.
Like an object, if you are incapable of. For me, what I do is, I close my eyes and I concentrate here. Like I take my inner eyes upwards and concentrate on the third eye.
Right.
If you just do it for 30 seconds. See, it's just 30 seconds of concentrating here. And already it changes it starts changing your brain patterns. And this is the idea behind coming into the present moment awareness.
Yes. I think coming into present moment awareness, as long as you have the tools to do it and you know that you know that you need to do them, it's not that hard to get into that zone. It just takes a bit of habit sculpting.
Practice. Practice.
That's all we have time for now. We'll be back later with another round of discussions about how the present moment relates to our relationships and how we talk and interact with others. Stay tuned.